Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Super Sports Central. Today we have my Week 3 USFL Power Rankings. So before we start, I just want to let you know, I don't know if these are Week 2 or Week 3, whatever you want to call them. They're my Power Rankings after Week 2, but before Week 3. So whenever you do rankings, like for college basketball or for college football, it's always the next week. So these would be Week 3. So I'm calling these my Week 3 Power Rankings. But whatever you want to call them, just so you know, each team has played 2 games, and we just finished Week 2 yesterday. So coming in at number 8, we have the Pittsburgh Maulers. So they're 0-2. They've looked like the worst team so far, but I also think they could be number 7. They're one of the 2 winless teams. They do play the other winless team, and that is the Michigan Panthers this week. So there's only going to be one winless team after Week 3, which is next weekend. I'll get to more on Week 3 in a little while. But they did play a good Stars team and a good Bandits team. They do need to figure out the quarterback position, whether it's Josh Love or Kyle Lauletta. Maulers come in at number 8. 7 is the Michigan Panthers. They had the first overall pick and selected Shea Patterson, and then Paxton Lynch again in the 12th round. A lot of people thought Paxton Lynch would be really good. He played one game through five passes, one horrible interception, didn't play at all in the second game. Patterson, he's had 316 yards and a touchdown, no picks. So when you look at his numbers, you don't think, oh, he hasn't been that bad. But the offense just hasn't been good under Patterson. So they haven't scored more than 12 points in a game. But their defense has been a really good bright spot for them. They haven't allowed more than 17 when they allowed 17 against the Gamblers. And then they allowed 10 against the Generals and still lost. Their kicking could definitely improve, but overall, their offense is what's holding them back. Number 6, we have my favorite team, and that is the New Jersey Generals. So I really like how they're using a quarterback rotation with Luis Perez and DeAndre Johnson. So you're using Perez as more of a passer and DeAndre Johnson as more of a runner. So one thing I would like to see them do a little bit more is I'd like to see DeAndre Johnson throw the ball a little bit more. So I understand they're a run-heavy team, and even though Mike Riley does like to throw the ball, he understands what he's using and what players he has, and that they're very good at running the football. In fact, they're actually the league's leader in terms of yards per game, and they've had the most rushing yards out of all teams, which is 336. So now, I would like to see DeAndre Johnson throw the ball a little bit more, and I would like to see Luis Perez a little bit more in the second half, because he plays a good amount in the first half, and then it seems like there's more of a split, but more of a favor towards Johnson later in the game, which, I mean, I understand because he's such an exceptionally good runner. Really, the only question for the Generals is what about quarterback Ben Holmes, who they selected in the first round. He's been out with an injury so far, but these two quarterbacks has looked pretty good together. Unless he's a good passer like Perez and a good runner like Johnson, really, what are they going to do with Ben Holmes? But he is out with injury, so I think they could be higher. I think they could potentially be 4, but I have the Generals at number 6. Coming in at number 5, we have the Houston Gamblers. They just lost a high-scoring game to the Stallions, but they played a pretty good game overall. Their receivers do have trouble with drops. So we were doing a live watch party here on my channel for that game on Saturday, and there was so many drops. But their receivers are good. They just need to learn how to catch the ball. And their defense looks pretty good. But then they were going up against a high-powered Stallions offense. And offense, sorry. And they just weren't able to keep up. But Gamblers at number 5. Number 4, we have the Tampa Bay Bandits. So, if I did power rankings last week, they definitely would have been number 1. But I did not get a chance to do power rankings last week, but they will be a weekly thing moving forward. So make sure to subscribe for that. And the only reason I'm dropping them to 4 is because they were number 1 and because they lost to a very good Breakers team. They did get destroyed. But something that an analogy I could potentially make for you is their defense, the Bandits' defense, reminds me a lot of the Georgia defense. Not sure if you guys are college football fans, but they have a very good defensive front, a lot of big bodies there. And they have trouble with teams that run a tempo offense and spread the field. For example, this week, the Bandits struggled against the Breakers when they were going with a tempo offense and spreading the field. Georgia struggled against Alabama in the SEC title game when Alabama was spreading the field. So they just saw a lot of super tired people on that field even after the first series for the Breakers. That's really their only weakness. I think their quarterback in Jordan Talmadge is good. I just think he had a bad game against the Breakers, and I still think he's one of the best players in the league. But Bandits come in at number 4. Coming in at number 3, we have the Philadelphia Stars. They may have the best quarterback in the league right now in Brian Scott. They appear to be one of the more pass-heavy teams in the league, and their quarterback, Brian Scott, looks to be leading the offense, and he's actually leading the league in passing yards and passing touchdowns. They look very good. They look like they're one of the top teams. Really, right now, for me, I think they're the top team in the North Division. I still think the South Division is much better than the North Division. But on to number 2, we have the Birmingham Stallions. So they have 2 league leaders. They have C.J. Marble, who leads the league in rushing touchdowns, and they have the receiving touchdowns leader in wide receiver Osiris Mitchell. They have a great offense, and under either quarterback Alex Magoo, who was actually out with injury last week, or Jamar Smith, who started and played a very good game. I also think they have a good running back duo in Marble and Tony Brooks-James, and receiver duo in Victor Bolden and Osiris Mitchell. I think the Stallions are going to be one of the better teams, but I really don't know where they're going to end up in the playoffs because of how good of a division they play in. And my number 1 team, I'm sure you guessed it by now, it's the New Orleans Breakers. So even though their quarterback Kyle Sloter is very banged up, he had a bounce-back week after a off week against the Stars. They do have a good running back in TJ Logan. You just need to get the ball in his hands and get him in space, and he's going to be one of the best running backs in the league. And then speaking of the best players in the league, they have arguably the best player in the USFL, and that is edge rusher Davin Bellamy. So those are my Week 2 USFL power rankings. Breakers come in at number 1. Just so you guys know, typically I wouldn't have told you guys so soon, but just so you guys know, this week we're going to be doing a watch party, 7:45 Eastern Time, for the Breakers Stallions game. And I didn't want to do another Stallions game because I did them for the opening game against the Generals, and then I did them again for the Gamblers when they played the Gamblers last week. But now it's the last 2 undefeated teams, and I think this is going to be a insanely good game. So that will be Saturday at 7:45. So make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss that, or whenever I upload a new video, because I do my best to post as often as possible, which has been every single day. I did miss a few days last week, but make sure to like, subscribe, comment. I do my best to post as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.